So a lot of startups, Stripe has such a good developer experience in terms of quick integration. They do start with Stripe. Are you saying those companies, if they're selling outside US, they are breaking the law?
Not necessarily, depends on each jurisdiction. So, for example,
This episode, I'm joined by Gabriel Ferraz, co founder and CEO of Crim, a company that helps SaaS founders and digital product creators sell globally without the headaches of tax and compliance. We dive into the complexities of scaling a business internationally and the hidden pitfalls of payment processing. You have a nice background. Is that your
oh,
regular work desk or it's
yeah, my work desk is this one, but then this background is normally where I record, for example, intros for product overviews for Crim. I have a couple of videos on the documentation. So normally I actually record in this room. So it's either facing that way or it's facing my screen here. And on my screen, I have a couple of plants, I have a couple of lights. So you can also see behind me, there's even a ring light and some recording equipment. So yeah.
oh nice. I thought it was a background. It's so that's real. The chair and the ring
Yeah.
light is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything is real. I actually don't know if you've seen, but I created a YouTube channel for people to be able to follow the journey of Cream as well. We actually,
Hmm.
the big part of the process when we were going through Antler, when we launched on Product Hunt. And we feel that this also helps us connect a lot with our community and with our users. And they get more engaged as well with the product development, knowing us. I mean, they have a face to recognize as well of who is behind that product that they are using, right? And it also helps us almost as a distribution channel in certain ways
Yep.
because it kind of connects us with this community that we're going for, right? Not only developers, but indie hackers of all sorts, people that are building any type of product online. They normally do some type of tutorial or follow some type of content creators on YouTube as well. So we are there as well for them to follow our journey.
Interesting. And so I've seen a lot of build in public happening on LinkedIn. That's probably the platform I focus on a lot. Is it similar? Like, what kind of content did you start posting, and what works in that regard?
Yeah, not only on LinkedIn, on YouTube and Twitter as well. We basically push out this content, but
Okay.
it's pretty much a vlog and a record of what we have been doing, what worked well, and what didn't. And not only is something for entertainment, but we also aim to share with the public and people that watch us to help on their journey as well. Because in one way or another, people that use us, they are also on
Builders.
either a different path of the journey, right, of being a founder, of building something online, but they are passing through, if not the same, similar challenges, right? So we see this as a way also of not really educational, but of sharing experiences and sharing challenges and helping people that are in this community as well. So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Well, on that note, do you want to share a little bit about what Cream is and what you guys are up to?
Sure. So Cream helps people that are building online software or online products, be it software as a service or some type of content, for example, courses, or any type of digital product like a template, for example. And it helps these people to sell globally and expand their sales globally without really the headaches of tax and compliance. So they can just focus on their product and focus on building their company, their businesses. And in a very short summary, we basically help people to sell globally without the headaches of tax and compliance. So that's basically it.
So, when you say you take out the tax compliance out, can you give an example of what headaches would one have to go through using a regular payment network versus, a merchant of record?
Sure. So if you're selling your software or your SaaS in a specific country, let's say that you are selling it in Brazil, but then you start seeing that you have a lot of demand from the market to sell in other jurisdictions, for example, UK, US, etc. I
Mhm.
mean, just even coming, one of the biggest benefits of building a SaaS is that you are able to sell anywhere, right? But when
Right.
you start scaling those operations and start selling a lot internationally, you will need to register your company on these different jurisdictions, and you will need to start not only calculating, collecting, and reporting and filing those taxes on those specific jurisdictions. Even on the first step of registration already creates several headaches and several problems for these founders to go through. Not even speaking from a challenging perspective, but from the time spent on that. They will need to allocate time to go through that specific authority. For example, in the UK, you need to deal with the HMRC and
Mhm.
be able to register that company, send all the documents necessary for that registration, start collecting the tax that is appropriate for the product you are selling, and then after collecting those taxes, then filing those taxes and obviously paying the duties. So when you start doing this on one, two, three places, you can already see how that compounds, and it kind of slows your growth because you create a lot of operational effort that is not technically related to how well the product is or to your revenue operations, right?
Mhm.
So these are the kind of challenges that we take out from the hands of the founders and from these teams to be able to just focus on building the product and obviously selling to the customers. A solution like a merchant of record, who is actually liable for that purchase, is the merchant of record. So the customer is transacting directly with us in
Mhm.
this case, and we are the ones responsible for reporting those sales and filing those taxes on all those appropriate jurisdictions. And with the setup, we basically pay a license for selling these products on behalf of these merchants, and the merchant then does not need to deal with any of these headaches, and basically is able to sell globally without any of these operational efforts.
Hmm. So a lot of startups, Stripe has such a good developer experience in terms of quick integration. They do start with Stripe, and a few of them get tremendous traction very early on. Are you saying those companies, if they're selling outside US, they are breaking the law?
Not necessarily, depends on each jurisdiction. So, for example, on the UK that we were talking before,
Yeah.
the threshold of the UK is one of the most aggressive ones because as soon as you sell your first transaction there, by law, you are required to start reporting on the UK.
Hmm.
On the States, for example, it's very different because each state has its own threshold, and depending on the state, there are different tax collection methods that you need to use depending on the type of product that you sell as well. So it really varies case by case, but on paper, if you are selling at least once to the UK during the fiscal year, then technically yes, you're breaking the law. Obviously, there are a lot of people that go cowboy and they don't really worry about the consequences of that.
Yeah.
That's not something that I recommend a lot, especially for teams with a long term approach.
It's not
But
good for
hey,
business either.
exactly. Exactly. But not only the legal aspect is involved in that, the whole understanding of, hey, how much should I actually charge for tax on this specific product, and keeping in touch with those regulations is also a tremendous big amount of effort for them to do. So we can think about this in a way that, hey, all right, our product, we did the research that we need to collect 12.5% on this specific state on the US. But on the next month, changed, and now it's actually 15%. So you need to keep in touch with all of that as well. And these are all the compounding small things that you need to always keep track of and always need to keep changing on your operations to be able to be compliant selling worldwide. And coming back to your question, the short answer is yes.
All right. Well, thanks for the overview on Cream and what you guys do. You started your journey from Brazil and in crypto. Why? How did you make the move? And maybe walk us through the journey of starting Cream. How did you
Sure,
how did you arrive at Cream from crypto?
sure. So I've always been between crypto and fintech my whole life, my whole career, and I always like to joke that I actually did the opposite path, in which on my early days in my career, I actually started with crypto. This was 2012, 2013. And because crypto was so early, this opened a lot of doors for me. And I had this agency back in Brazil. And as we were one of the first agencies doing solutions for the crypto companies out there, this introduced me to a lot of different folks, to a lot of smart folks, and these opened doors and opportunities for me. From that, I actually worked within fintech to making projects for different types of companies. For example, telecom companies within fintech projects, or even commodities as well, that in Brazil it's quite big. But after that, I was feeling a little bit like unpassionate about the industry and had to come back to crypto as well. But speaking a little bit about how we started Crim, we just had talked a little bit about Stripe, and Stripe revolutionized payments 15 years ago. It made things much easier, right?
Yep.
But if you take into account how different it became on this 15 years of their journey, you can see they're focused a lot more right now on enterprise as well, and their solutions that they're bringing into the market. And what was 10 years ago 7, 10 lines of code to accept payment on a very easy way, right now, depending on your use case, it's going to be more like 5,000, 7,000 lines of code. And we clearly see that with a lot of our customers. They get a little bit lost on Stripe documentation, and
Mhm.
they feel a little bit overwhelmed by having to click on 10 different links just to understand what is their type of integration with Stripe. These customers are not usually the 10x engineers or the 10x developers.
Mhm.
These are what we call indie hackers, who are people who can have an engineering background, but can also have a marketeering or business background.
Mhm.
And because of AI tools, access to information, and how easy it is to build a product compared to 5, 10 years ago, these people are now being able to ideas, bring their products into the market in a much easier way.
Mhm.
But for these people, it's still very challenging to actually integrate payments and make it in a that integration in a proper way. And these people get very overwhelmed when they see, hey, do I actually need this connect thing? Am I an express setup account? Am I a custom account? What is a webhook? How these things work? Like, what is a payment intent? Why is this all asynchronous? So, although the platforms that exist right now are incredibly more powerful than 5, 10 years ago,
Mhm.
that simplicity and that getting from 0 to 1 has been lost in the middle of the way. Especially as these current platforms grow, they start to tend a lot more for enterprise clients, for more custom integrations, and being on a more low level approach where it allows you more flexibility and customization on those integrations. And we come to the market then to basically fulfill that need, being understanding that, hey, these people are not being served right now. They usually do not understand what is even tax compliance. They don't even understand what is a tax jurisdiction, and they are kind of left alone, basically, with the current payment platforms. So with that intent, with that knowledge, with that insight, we came to basically fill that hole on the market, making
Mhm.
sure that it is a system, it is a platform that democratizes that access to everyone that now is able to create products and is able to build digital businesses, this next wave of digital businesses, and give them a solution that they are able to get from 0 to 1, and that it can grow with them as well. And we see this being accelerated as well on the market. We don't think that this is something that is going to slow down, especially because from what we see on our peers and our connections, everyone is building some type of side project. Everyone now is being able to put their ideas into the paper, into code, and that access is then bringing these new types of challenges. And we believe this is going to continue accelerating. Bootstrapping businesses are going to continue growing, and we need to serve and fulfill the needs of this new, let's say, asset class that is coming into the market. And yeah, I hope that this gives an overview of why and how we started Crim, basically.
Yeah. And so you are also an Antler alum like myself. Did you arrive at the idea pre-Antler, or did you discover this pain point during the program?
So we actually arrived on the program already with the team formed and with the idea.
Oh,
So me and my co-founders, we are foreigners. You can tell from my accent. I'm actually from Brazil.
yeah.
My co-founder is from South Africa. He lives in Amsterdam. I live in Estonia.
Mhm,
And the Antler program was incredible for us to build our network and to build our connections. But
mhm,
we came to the program with the idea in mind already, starting to build the prototype actually. And we
mhm,
spent most of the program actually building with our heads down and building the product. So I met my co-founder back in 2019 when I moved to Estonia. He was the CTO of the startup that I came to work for. And since then, we always had a very good work relationship. We always enjoyed working together.
mhm.
And we always knew that we wanted to build something
Something.
together. And even before Antler, we actually decided to build other types of projects on the beginning of the year, which
Mhm,
was called, for example, Armitage that we were building. And we can talk a little bit about it later. But in summary, we we realized that the market we were building was not really easy to be monetizable, and we decided to build something that could both solve a real problem that you see on the market right now and fulfill our vision of what we want the future to look like. And that's how we arrived in Crim. Crim is something that is still very far away from what we want to be on our end vision,
mhm.
and it's just the beginning of the journey, basically. But coming back to your question, we came to Antler with the product and already knowing what we want to build and with the team. So yeah.
Yeah. You must have had incredible advantage going into the IC, given the whole program. A lot of them actually spend a month or so figuring out the team and the idea, where you are pretty much building heads down. Uh, were you one of the obvious choices for the IC, or how hard was it to get a nod?
Well, I think we strategized quite well in a sense as well because we actually released on Product Hunt 1 week before the IC. And because of that release, we actually got the number one fintech product of the month. We got a lot of traction. We got the second product of the day on Product Hunt. We were able to show that traction right with only 1 week of the product being live. And
Mhm.
obviously, this helped us tremendously because then it stopped being from something that, hey, believe in me, I understand this market and this is going to work. Instead
Mhm.
of that, it was, hey, look at what the market said, look at how the product was received by the market, and look at the feedback and the comments from people. We know what we need to build next because people are literally asking us what
Mhm.
they need. And this is basically our roadmap, right? We don't need to do guesswork. We're talking with customers, people are asking us, and then we can just go from there. So, in that sense, it made things much easier for us.
Mhm.
But obviously, there was a lot of effort to make that strategy come into place. I'm not sure if that answered your question regarding the IC.
Yeah, yeah, of course. It makes sense. Even during a program like Antler, there are milestones, and if you understand the program well going in, and are prepared and make certain moves and time, they care about the traction. And if the more you can show, the more your chances increase. But I was surprised how far you got along even before the program was over, or the IC. That's good progress, to be really honest.
I think this is because basically our team of founders are both with a technical background, so we have
Yeah.
that privilege, and this is something that I actually would recommend anyone that is starting a company right now to have at least a little bit of technical knowledge to be able to help building that product. In a way, it is a superpower, right?
Yeah.
Because if a customer asks you, or if there is someone on your sales pipeline that says, hey, if you have this, I am able to come into the platform tomorrow, right? And just having the ability to be able to shape things and build things your way, that's a superpower that everyone on that starting team should have at least a little bit of practice or of knowledge with. So although obviously sales, business, everything is important, especially on the initial stages, that technical knowledge, I think it's still underestimated, and it's still something that can make or break companies on these early stages. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We spoke a little bit about pivot before Crim. Do you want to talk about what the original idea was and why did you need to move in this direction?
Sure. So it's interesting because the idea in itself never changed. Where we want to arrive never changed. And we are very passionate about coordination and the mechanism design for coordination. And because of that, we decided to previously, from building Crim, we wanted to build coordination infrastructure on the financial realm. And this would come in different ways, but the main way would be to allow people to split payments programmatically and transparently. We can
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the consequences and the workflows that this can create. But when we started building that, we realized that it would not be possible to market and monetize that product without a strong foundation in payments first. And this is mainly due to the trust that this industry needs to operate. So people are not going to want to use your product if they cannot trust that you are going to not run with their money, right? First
Right.
of all. The second point is that you need at least some type of critical mass to be able to create deals, to be able to partner up with other companies and other infrastructure that you will need inside of your product.
Mhm.
And the third point, we would not be able to create an end-to-end experience for those customers only building that infrastructure that we wanted to build before. So because of that, we decided to take a step back and actually build that foundation first, which is Crim, and then after that, actually go for our vision into what we actually want to create and, let's say, offer to the world as a new behavior, as a new workflow. And this comes in different ways. So in an essence, all these different workflows, they serve for the same purpose, which is allowing people to collaborate with each other in a better way. Right now, as we were talking about, there is a lot of new types of indie hackers, new types of product builders that did not existed 5, 10 years ago.
Mhm.
But these people, they still do not have the necessary infrastructure to be able to collaborate in a seamless way. And when I say collaborate, I mean any type of project that takes more than one person, in which they do not create a company or set up a legal vehicle to do business through. Okay. And let's give an example here of a product designer or an engineer that is from Brazil,
Mhm.
and he knows a great marketeer or a great infrastructure engineer or any other person that he wants to collaborate, but this person is actually in Malaysia. These guys, they want to build a project right now, but they don't really want to create a company. They don't want to take that project seriously from the beginning. They want to put it out into the world. They want to see how that project is going to be received from the market. They want to build an MVP together. Then, if they want to start charging for this product to obviously see if there's some indications or signs of product market fit, they start running into several issues. So, how are we going to divide this money? Where is this money going to arrive? How are we going to split this revenue between multiple parties? How am I going to send you this money if I'm going to arrive to get this money through my bank account, my individual bank account, and I'm going to send you this money after? Can I just send from person to person, from individual bank account to another individual bank account that is on another country? What are the legal implications of that? Can I trust you that everything that arrives there, you're actually going to give me 30% of it? When is this going to be valid for? How are we going to renegotiate that if something works well? So they don't have that infrastructure to be able to collaborate yet. And this actually, the solopreneur narrative is a consequence of not having that infrastructure yet. From what we see right now, it's not that a lot of people want to work alone, they want to be solopreneurs. But when you are building a digital business today that is not something VC backed or something that you're taking very seriously, you do not have the infrastructure or the tools to be able to collaborate with other people on that. Another great example of this is agencies for YouTube creators, or agents that create those partnerships and then connect those accounts to AdSense from Google AdSense. In a way, creating a YouTube video as a collaboration, it's almost as a piece of real estate that is going to generate revenue forever. You put it there and then it generates dividends for the future.
Mhm.
But when these YouTubers collaborate between each other, they do not have the infrastructure as well to be able to set vehicles or structures in a way that they can do this alone between each other. They need some type of agent, some type of company that is going to be able to take care of that video, of that collaboration, and then split that revenue between the producer, between the license holder, the IP owner, and the YouTubers and the content creators themselves, right? And we want to create that infrastructure to allow these types of workflows, to allow people to be able to collaborate with each other and to create cool things online, that with people that they like and with people that they want to work with. And these are just a couple of examples of workflows that we want to enable in the future. But we also see this expanding into hiring, for example. Hey, I really like our work. I really enjoy what you have previously done. Let's work together. I don't have capital to pay you right now, but I'm building this project, this super cool project. If you like it, I am able to give you 5% of the next 3 years revenue of whatever comes from this project. So it really enables a lot of different workflows that we can go through more of them as well. But summarizing it, it's simply, our vision is simply to create coordination infrastructure for people to be able to create cool things online and to collaborate together.
Yeah, there is a lot of friction to start collecting checks or money. People resolve to doing things for free and testing it out, and if there is traction, then putting a payment button on top,
Setting up a company, right?
setting up the company. So yeah, there is a lot of friction there. On the flip side, someone like you providing all that exposes you to litigation. Again, future roadmap, maybe something to think about. You probably have thought about it a little bit in that direction, but basically you will do the heavy lifting of doing all that, providing an insurance maybe, and kind of facilitating and tearing down that friction that exists today.
Yes, yes. In the
Interesting.
future, what we really want to achieve is to also allow these people to leverage capital and
Hmm.
to allow capital to enter into an asset class that is inaccessible by that capital. And you can see it in a way that, hey, a YouTuber wants to create a new project that is going to require 100K of capital, or someone wants to build this cool project and they already built an MVP, it's already generating X amount of revenue that it's transparently, but they need capital to be able to do some type of deal or build some type of future feature. And we want to allow these people to also be able to sell these revenue shares, these revenue splits to a wider market, a market that now VCs are not able to access, people are not able to access. And we see even secondary markets coming into fruition from these revenue shares and people being able to buy 5% of revenue for the next 3 years on this specific project for X amount of capital. This would be something that we believe that the revenue share model is going to continue accelerating and it's going to emerge again. And
Hmm.
that because how less intensive software now is from capital, we're going to see this trend of bootstrapped business continue accelerating. But at the
Yep.
same time, they will still need some type of capital at some point.
Of
So
course.
you can also see this almost as crowdfunding 2.0 or affiliate marketing 3.0, in a
Hmm.
way that it allows all these different types of workflows and secondary markets from this revenue share being basically a new type of asset class.
Hmm. And I'm assuming this vision that you're moving towards will, in some shape or form, involve crypto.
Yes, for sure. So we do see right now how stable coins are getting traction.
Yep.
And obviously, it's for a reason. It
Yep.
makes things more efficient. And we don't see Cream as a crypto company, but because of our know how and our expertise, we can make things incredibly more efficient because of crypto. And when we were talking now about the revenue share marketplace, we definitely see that being on the back hood, under the hood, being powered by crypto, but not necessarily the users even knowing it is, even understanding that the technology behind that is actually crypto.
Hmm.
And this is where I see that crypto has the biggest potential on creating efficiency and making sure that we are able to create these new types of workflows in a transparent and programmable way, but without exposing the user to all the intricacies or even letting them know that this is powered by crypto, basically, but
Yeah.
allowing us to be more efficient and more transparent, secure on that. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
Yeah, no, it does.
yeah,
It does. It does. It does. Of course, there are both classes of users, people who want to be having the visibility of what's going behind the scenes, and people who don't care about the intricacies because they're too technical for them.
sure. And another great benefit of using crypto on the under the hood would also be the transparency that it allows. And
Hmm.
we see that as a major requirement for these workflows to happen, because when you want to buy that revenue share, or when you are going to work with someone for 30% of the revenue from a
Yeah.
specific project, you want to make sure that at any time you are able to see, hey, actually everything that arrives here
You are
has
getting that,
this
yeah.
split of 30%, exactly, and it needs to be transparent and accessible everywhere. And that's one of the major use cases of crypto for us to create those, for example, using attestations and
Mhm.
allowing it to be public, and so that everyone can check what is actually that distribution and those splits on those specific accounts.
Yeah, makes sense. We also spoke about, so you are essentially right now building a merchant of record, which is an abstraction, and people don't have to deal with all the legal. And what you are describing now almost sounds like a company of record. How did you arrive at this, and what's the appetite? Have you already tested this? How big the pain is?
Right. So this whole abstraction and layer on these hard problems is actually something that I'm very interested in, and something that comes back to coordination topics, because we
Hmm.
can give a great example right now of Dio, right? The employer of record company. If
Right?
I'm not mistaken, right now they are doing 500 million AR or something like this.
Yeah,
And
something crazy. Yeah.
it's very clear that it solves a major problem, right? And the reason on why that problem is so valuable to solve is because the underlying layer in which that problem resides is actually the coordination between different states, between different countries, between different jurisdictions
Hmm.
that are not able to communicate with each other and create a system or solve this problem in a way that it's easy for people to interact with. So you can see all these jurisdictions as a different interface. So for someone to be able to navigate that, they need to integrate with all these interfaces, right? So you need to integrate with the UK interface, with Iowa interface, with Brazil interface, if you want to have employees on all of these different jurisdictions. Obviously, the world would be in a great benefit if these interfaces could actually communicate with each other and solve that problem in that layer.
Mm.
Imagine if you would have a single system in which you would be able to hire someone in any part of the world, and you would be able to pay a single employer tax or a single social tax, and there is a single set of rules that you need to adhere and be compliant to, that allows you to expand globally. That would be amazing. That would be the best case scenario, right? But
Yep.
for us to solve that problem right now, it's virtually impossible. It's the same class of problems that comes with climate change, with nuclear war, because a, it is a technically hard problem to solve, but the difficulty of it does not come from its technicality, does not come from its complexity. It comes from the coordination nature of politics and humans that are involved within the sets of problems. So as we are not able to solve those problems on that layer zero, let's say, we then create an abstraction on top of it, a new
Mm-hmm.
layer on top of it, that then people are able to interact with. And this is exactly what Dio or other employer of record companies created. It was a layer that companies can then interact with and
Mm-hmm.
then solve that problem, solve quote unquote that problem for their specific use cases, right? And that's why it's so valuable. It created that unified interface that people that have that problem is able to interact with. And we see that in the same way accelerating with the merchant of record model, because right now, especially for this new class of entrepreneurs, of indie hackers, of people building online businesses, it is a very complicated problem that they do not even are aware of it yet within the tax and the compliance realm. And that's a problem that for them to solve as a small team with limited resources, with limited time, with a limited amount of people, it's not going to be worth dedicating those resources to solve that problem. Right.
Mm.
Obviously, when you are talking about 100 people, about 50 people, even 10 people in some cases, depending on how efficient is your company, then it's something else. Obviously, it does make a lot of sense to have someone in your team that is going to take care of that finance department, of that accounting, of the tax and the compliance reasons. But until you arrive there, and again, for this new class of people building things online, it doesn't make sense to put your efforts towards something like that. And that's why we believe that this new layer as well of merchant of record is going to continue accelerating in the future, because it creates that unified interface that then people are able to integrate with and to work with, that is going to allow them to simply not worry about those issues. It's not really about the amount of people, it's about how much revenue you are generating on that company.
Yeah.
But we see companies that have two, three people generating 500, 600K MRR that like to use the merchant of record because it also allows them to keep that team lean, keep that product velocity high, and be able to move fast.
Yeah.
So, in summary, coming back, there is this layer of employer of record, of merchant of record, and we do believe that we are going to see this layer of company of record as well in the future, that it's almost like an integration of all these different interfaces for someone to be able to build a global product, that someone is simply going to be able to say, hey, you, me, and that guy, we're going to create this product, let's sell, and we are just going to be able to focus on the product and talk with the customers, and everything else is handled for you. And I truly believe that in 5, 10 years, we are going to see a world where this is going to become the norm. And that's where we are going to.
Yeah. People are local, businesses have become global, products and problems have become global. And as much as you would like to tear down the local boundaries, they're probably going to be there for a for a long time. Any key takeaways from the journey so far? It's still pretty early for you guys. What has been the biggest struggle so far, if you may want to share?
So I think that the main thing that I would have done differently in our
Hmm.
case would be to invest more in automation and operation from day one. Although this is easy to say in hindsight, because
Of course.
not doing that also allowed us to create a much higher product velocity within the company as well, and be able to iterate much faster because of that too. So it's easy for me to say, hey, right now I'm spending so much time doing onboarding and reconciling and accounting and everything. But it might very well have been a very different story if we already spent that time building all that automation from day one, right? So it's not really something as black and white as I would have done that differently because it would have worked better, but I would definitely have experimented and spent a little bit more time on automation from the beginning. Because right now we are suffering a little bit on spending time that we could be building the product, just doing operations, accounting, reconciliation, onboarding people,
Hmm.
verification, and all that jazz. So, yeah.
So you're basically manually onboarding people right now, and it's more
We do
sales led or and founder led than PLG. Say.
not really. When I say onboarding, I mean the compliance verification because we
Oh, I
take
see.
compliance very seriously as we are the merchant of record, right?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
We can't allow a lot of different products within the platform, and we do a two-step actually compliance verification because we currently use Stripe as our main provider, and the Stripe obviously has their verification in place as well, with their accounts, with their connected accounts. But we also do a complete due diligence on our part as well to make sure that nothing passes unnoticed, basically.
Right.
So we ask the merchants all the details about their business, what are the products they're selling. We visit their website, we check their terms of service, we check their refund policy. So there's this whole aspect of risk mitigation that we actually incur by being the merchant of record that we are very careful with, and
Mhm.
make sure that, hey, let's spend the time necessary in here so that it doesn't bite us in the future. And that's why building that automation maybe in the
Yeah,
beginning
could have
could help
accepted.
us quite a lot.
Nice. Where can people find you? And is there a promo or an introductory offer you have for people who are listening to this?
Sure. So you can go to Crim.io. The platform is completely self-service. You can onboard. You're going to do everything through the platform. You don't need to talk with anyone if you don't need to. But at the same time, we have a live chat within the app that you can communicate with us. We have our Discord community. We are super active. We share news and updates. We even help people to interrogate there as well. We have a channel for people to just share their work and build in public as well, get feedback from people that are on the community. And more often than not, we actually get pieces of code from our users to help them integrate and debug code as well. It's quite fun, so be part of it. Come around. But coming back to, you said introductory offer, right, Vishay? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If there is any ongoing
Yeah, we
offers
do,
that
we
you
do.
have for people to hear, yeah.
Yes, and right now we actually allow you to process up to $1,000 or euro with 0% fees for you to get to know the platform. We know that you guys are going to like the platform, and that's one of the main reasons that we have that offer. You are able to then get some traction with your product that you are starting now, get help, and just get things in place. And then only after that, when you grow, we grow together, and then we start charging you one of the most competitive fees on the market as well. So it's a great offer. In any way, come around, come say hi, and we'll be happy to have you there.
Nice. I wish you guys all the best. And thanks for taking the time and joining me here on the podcast.
Rishesh, thanks a lot for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
If you found this valuable, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. See you in the next episode.